Well, hey, everybody, welcome to the starting grid. It's me, Chad Eisenhart, Barry here with you. We're missing our three amigo. Micah couldn't be with us today, but we've had a little hiatus. I know, Barry, you're across the world. I'm in my own hometown, but I was on the road, for a little bit too. Where are you at right now?
I am in Guadalajara, Spain at the moment.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Suffering.
Suffering. So I am heading home though. Heading home in a couple of days.
Good. Well, I know we tried to do a recap from Australia, but I was in Kenya. I think you were getting ready for heading over that way, and Micah was maybe even Canada. So sorry
Right.
to all of you, our viewers, listeners, for missing a week after an incredible
Yeah. Amazing race.
Australian race. We wanted to kind of recap a little bit of that, some of the news that's been happening in Formula One since then, as we've had this kind of early season break, if you will. It's been a 3-week hiatus from Formula One, which has been very hard, which for those of you who didn't realize, it was because China was on the grid and then they canceled it and didn't replace it, which was actually surprising to me. But so we had a longer than usual break right off the bat, which is not normal. But
Right.
looking forward to this weekend with Baku.
Yeah. One of my favorite tracks. I love Baku. I love the narrowness of the track. Really great street course. Some fun, it's a nice long straight and great top speeds, but also some really technical areas. But I tell you what, Chad, one of the things I wanted to chat about when we'll jump into Australia as well. But I was just thinking about this 3-week break that we've had, this hiatus is it really works to the advantage of the teams, especially some of the teams that were struggling.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
usually it's only later in the season when they get that longer kind of the summer break and they can go back and they can spend a little bit more time in on their cars. And so I know I've heard some rumblings that that Mercedes is thinking that they're going to come back just really strong, which they were already looking a lot stronger going
Yeah.
into Australia from the start of the season. But yeah, you have any thoughts on that?
Well, so correct me if I'm wrong, though, but the summer break does not allow for technical development, right? Doesn't everybody have to take the summer break? Because I think that's the only time in the year that everybody actually takes a vacation.
Right.
So I know they can come out with something that maybe they had pre-planned, whenever they open it up, but you're not doing technical development, which is different than
Right.
this break. Whereas, like you
True.
said, this whole 3-week period, I guarantee you every team was getting after it. They
Yeah.
were
Yep.
going back to the drawing board. Mercedes, I heard some, B-spec rumors of maybe do you have a whole new car?
Yeah.
Or are they
Yep.
just, doing some major developments?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't imagine that Aston is not doing something to kind
Oh
of
man.
try to keep
Yeah.
going. So yeah, I think there's going to be some interesting. And then of course Red Bull, they're not sitting on their
No.
thumbs, waiting for everybody to come out.
No, not at all.
Adrian Newey's probably at home that whole 3 weeks, jotting down notes on his napkin, figuring out how he's going to make Aero run even better. So yeah, I think you're going to come back with some changes.
Yeah.
I think there'll be some adjustment to cars, aero packaging. I think some of the technical snafus that we've had. I know Red Bull's had some little. I listen to a bunch of English podcasts. Do they say niggles? Or they use some terminology for like those little things,
niggles,
little
that are just
niggles, that are nagging. I mean, it's a great word. I'm like, Red Bull's got a lot of those, it seems. So they'll probably work through some of that. Be interesting to see Alpine if they're kind of sneak in. They didn't do too bad until the end of Australia.
Yes.
And then you just hope that Ferrari is going to do something, and of course Mercedes is probably
no,
so
definitely.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think absolutely. And you're absolutely right. The summer break is that, I'm thinking about some of those gaps. That's what I was thinking about, is like some of the week, the spots where we don't have back-to-back races and they have a little bit more time, to go back to the workshop and go, okay, what are some things that we can adjust at this moment? But I think it's going to switch things up a little bit. I think we're going to, of course, the concern is that you take something that's actually working and you mess it up because you tinker with it. And so there's that fine line for them. Like you said, I think Red Bull, just little things that they can safely tweak.
Yep.
But definitely for Mercedes. So of course, thinking about Australia, George Russell DNF'd that race. His car caught fire, and
Yep.
that's just not something you want to see. Especially, I know, Toto Wolff's going, hey, a Mercedes on fire is just not something,
Yeah.
especially for the third race of the season.
Yeah.
That's just not the kind of result that you want to have.
Yeah. So to remind everybody, if you didn't watch that race, you had Max Verstappen, of course, won.
Hmm.
You had Lewis Hamilton coming in P2, Fernando Alonso rounding out P3 once again, followed by Lance Stroll, which was surprising to see him,
Yeah.
round up. Who knows what would have happened if George didn't go out, but anyhow, he had a fourth place finish. Sergio Perez in fifth, Lando Norris in sixth, Nico Hulkenberg in seventh,
Yeah.
and then Oscar Piastri in eighth, Zhou Guanyu in ninth, and Yuki Tsunoda rounding out 10th.
So yeah, Australia is just a great track. They made some changes to the track, which I think just sped the race up a little bit as well, made the track a little bit more exciting.
For
Uh,
sure.
but it's just always a bummer when you have a race end the way that it did. You know, to have two red flags. Alex Albon's his incident earlier on in the race. There's just really question about whether that even should have been a red flag. I'm wondering if the FIA is being a little overly cautious with that. We've seen that already a couple of times, where they just kind of jump to the red flag, which I can
It's
understand.
tough.
It is. It's really hard because in the times where they don't, then the drivers complain that
Right.
there's unsafe. But if they
Right.
do, then it's you're affecting the outcome of the race. So it is. It's. I can't. I can't imagine being in their shoes and trying to make those decisions.
No.
Plus, one of the things that they're aware of is that the carbon fiber pieces that come off of those cars are extremely sharp. And
Right.
so if you're puncturing a tire with those cars going as fast as they are, it's extremely dangerous. So,
Right.
you can definitely say better, to be on the side of caution, err on the side of caution with that. But yeah,
But
then
like, couldn't
later,
they have done a yellow flag though, or something instead?
well, or
Or virtual
VSC.
safety? That's what I
Hmm.
meant. Yeah, not a yellow
Yeah,
flag, but yeah, I mean, you didn't have to stop the race. I mean,
no, no, I agree. I think it is a little. It is an overabundance of caution, and I think it does definitely throw off the race. Because any time that we have to have another, they're lining up on the grid, it just kind of negates everything that's gone before.
right, right,
So here you have, Verstappen's running an incredible race. I mean, he's just out on his own. And then you have K-Mag who, has his incident, red flag comes out, and now we've got to restart and back on the grid. And
yep,
and it, the thing I was thinking about was when you have a restart so late in the race, early on, the drivers are fresh. They're attuned. Their cars are dialed in. They haven't been going for so many laps.
right,
Brakes are still fresh, and I think they just still have that edge. But I think anytime we see, especially on some of these more technical tracks, you see a restart after red flag late in the race, it just almost always ends in some kind of wreck because
right.
they're just not as dialed in.
No, and I mean, tires get cold or they're
Hmm.
scrubbed. I mean, that Carlos Sainz getting hit with that penalty, right? For
Right.
tagging, was it who did he tag? I'm forgetting who he hit. Oh, he clipped Fernando.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that's right.
but I think it was because his tires were cold. He came in
Right.
that corner pretty hot, locked
Yeah.
up, and just, I mean, it wasn't a massive thing, but I mean, he
Right.
made, a big impact in 5-second penalty. But I think to your point, they lose focus and
Yeah.
all of the systems are cold. And those guys, I mean, they get, so in tune and so focused before a race. And you get out, you just lose that focus, you lose that intensity,
Right.
you lose just that. You're like trying not to, a lot of them put on headphones to try to stay in the game.
Right.
You lose that.
Yeah. No, and then just fatigue. Right. You've got, because driving F1 car is just, it's an hour long adrenaline rush. And so if you stop, that you come down off of that to get back in that groove is really tough. So of course we have K-Mag crashes, we have the red flag comes out for that. We have the restart, and then after the restart, the two Alpines get into each other and crash each other out. And that was it's unfortunate, just kind of blind spot coming across the track. But man, what an unfortunate result for the Alpine team. And then we end up having a race that ends under caution.
Right.
And that
Which I feel like, yeah, they don't. I mean, we don't want that, but at the same time, we don't want reenactment of what happened last last year, 2 years ago, with Max and Lewis, ending just to try to make it a race. So I think the purists were like, hey, that happened, but it probably shouldn't happen because of things earlier in the race, but it is what it is, and let's do that rather than try to have some creation of an exciting end of a race.
Right. Some kind of shootout. You don't want that. But no, I think overall great race. But it revealed a lot of the flaws going into this pseudo break. And like we were saying earlier, now the team's now okay. I'm really interested to see how Fernando Alonso comes out of the break. I think where other people might have taken these 3 weeks as just kind of a chance to rest, I think Fernando, despite all of the distraction happening in his dating life,
for those of you who haven't heard, the rumor on the street is Fernando Alonso and Taylor Swift are dating.
Yes.
Even though I think the likelihood of that in terms of geographical location while he's racing and she's on tour is almost impossible. But that's what the old interwebs is saying these days.
Yeah, it's so crazy. But I think he's dialed in, man. I agree. He's chomping at the bit. He's ready to get back into it. So
I think what's different though now is he is just having fun though. I mean, like he is obviously he is so competitive. So like that's not, I think you can't distinguish his competitiveness with remember with when he was with McLaren and the Honda engine, he just hated life. You could tell he did not want to be there. He knew the car wasn't good, but he just was, it was down. This is like he knows he's not gonna probably win unless something happens with Red Bull. But he's having fun and he's enjoying racing and he's enjoying, doing what he's doing. And it's like, that's kind of scary when you got a guy that like nothing to lose, everything to gain, and he's in a good car. And he's proven the fact that, just because he's later in his life in terms of a Formula One racing driver's, career and age, he still has it.
Oh, he's having the time of his life. So it's that balance between having fun, but keeping your head in the game. And, make no doubt about it. He is a serious racing driver, but yeah, you can hear him on the radio. He's enjoying this immensely. And I think he's getting a kick out of how much this is just really messing with the other team's plans. And like, I think he just enjoys it. And so Baku this weekend, which is always an entertaining race. It's a great circuit. Again, just super technical, but then that long straight, really long straight, and then heavy braking into that first corner, just makes some great racing. We've seen Max overshoot. I mean, we've seen Lewis overshoot that corner before, that first corner. The little chicane through where the old tower is, the old castle.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
It just catches them out, and so you've got to just be on your A game. But so the big news this weekend though is it's a sprint format weekend, but they've made changes to the sprint format. So what are your thoughts on this new format, Chad?
Well, I think you understand the technicalities of it more than me, so I'll let you speak to that. But I think for me, I appreciate that the FIA and Formula One, and I don't know who's making these rules on this one specifically. I guess it would be the FIA, right?
Right.
Or is it? Yeah. So FIA is changing things, which they're not as concerned about the commercial side of things. But I think they're trying to make, they're trying to have racing on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Have something, for fans, make it more appealing. Obviously, drive up revenue, watchers. So I get that. As a fan, I probably might even enjoy that more because I would like to watch a little bit more racing. I think it's odd to start tweaking with things mid-season. that kind of is weird because I'm
Right.
like, what else are you going to change mid-season? Are you going to chart the point structure? Are you going
Exactly.
to are we going to all of a sudden have 3 championships? I mean, are we going to have a sprint championship, a constructors
Right.
championship, and a drivers championship?
Right.
Um,
Well,
so
because they're even talking about later in the season, maybe doing away with the tire blankets like
right,
mid-season. So, that's just another thing where they're going, hey, is this necessary? But it is weird to make those changes kind of midstream and mid-season.
yeah,
But so, yeah, so this new format, basically, you have a practice on Friday, a qualifying on Friday. That qualifying on Friday afternoon is for the Sunday race. So now the sprint race no longer becomes the qualifier for the starting grid. And I have a suspicion that there was pushback from the drivers about that because they want to go put it out on the line on on qualifying and get their starting order without the risk of a sprint race, crashing out, having mechanical problems, and then that really messing up their chance to actually run a good race on Sunday. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was some driver input on that.
yeah,
I enjoy watching qualifying as much as I enjoy watching the race. And
yeah,
so to have 2 qualies, 2 races in one weekend, I think it's a win all the way around. I don't mind the change. We'll see how it works out practically. So yeah, so practice on practice on Friday, quali on Friday for the Sunday race, and a qualifying session on Saturday morning, and that's qualifying session is for the sprint race on Saturday afternoon. It's essentially a 30-minute race, so however many laps they can do in 30 minutes. No pit stops required for the sprint race, so it is really a shootout.
yeah,
Um, and just good racing, and then the
yeah,
race on Sunday. So yeah,
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see how they work that out. And the qualifying on Saturday for the sprint is shorter, so the sessions are abbreviated, they're not as
right, right,
long.
right.
And so they're going to have to be really strategic about, especially when you get to Q3, they once they get out on the track, they won't have time to come back into the pit, make adjustments, and go back out. So they have
Right.
to go out and run their fast lap.
Which, yeah. So I mean, so I don't want to confuse you or anybody that's listening. I'm down with having more racing and competitive racing throughout a weekend. I just think doing it mid-season is kind of unfair and it's
Yeah.
weird. But yeah, to your point, qualifying is incredible and it can be some of the funner racing just because you got everybody shooting it out and you're starting from scratch. It's not like everybody's
Right.
at a disadvantage because of where they're at. I mean, it's just
Right.
everybody's starting at their best. But I think, yeah, so it'd be interesting. I think there's going to be a difference between tire usage. I know there's some changes to like the tires you can use specific points, right? Is that correct? Have you heard that?
I'm still trying to sort that out.
Okay.
So
I think I
yeah,
think different qualifying sessions you can only
it's
use a certain
exactly
tire.
right.
So we'll have
And
to
that's,
clarify that a little bit.
yeah, I'm the same way. I was trying to read through the rules, and it's like if you qualify on this tire, then you have to start on that tire. And man, it just gets a little convoluted.
If Micah was here, he'd know.
He
He's our
would know
resident
all the
expert. Micah,
details.
where are you, man? Where are you?
Exactly.
It is interesting though. They are adding a 4th engine in terms
Yes.
of ICU, the internal combustion pieces, and
Yeah.
some of the other bits in there. I don't think the whole system, but with the increased impact this will have on engines as time progresses, they're adding that. Which again, I think it just comes to this point of like, let's just change the rule a little bit
Right.
mid-season, and
Right. No, they're just gonna do kind of whatever they want, and
they are,
I hope it settles down a little bit, but maybe this is
yeah.
just the way it's gonna be, and yeah, we just gotta deal.
All right, so it's gonna be a really exciting weekend coming up with this new sprint format and just the teams coming back and a lot of the new dynamics at play. Barry, what are your predictions for this weekend? What do you think is gonna happen?
Oh man, it's tough. It's tough. I really think coming out of this 3 week break, I don't think we're gonna see Max slow down in his dominance.
No,
I think we'll see Sergio back up there again as well. I don't think we're going to see. I mean, I think it's just kind of more of the same. I think uh, first and second, unless there's an incident or mechanical problems. I think we'll see Verstappen, Perez 1-2, and then I think from 3 down to 5-6, it's Aston Martin, Mercedes kind of scrapping it out for those positions. But I would not be surprised to see Fernando on the podium again this weekend.
Yeah, yeah. So I think you're probably very right. Whether or not I think it's going to be Aston or Mercedes in that 2 or 3 spot, that'll be TBD. But I'm going to just throw it in just to say let's. I mean, Max is going to win unless he has some sort of technical challenge. So that'll be my prediction: is he's first unless something happens. I'm going to say though that something happens with Perez, and I don't know if that's a clash with Max at the beginning or some other challenge as they go. He'll get bumped back. And then we got the shootout trying to get into second with Alonso and Hamilton, which I think could get pretty spicy at some point. I don't know if I'd predict either one. I mean, it'd be great to see Fernando get a second place podium. Let's just go with that. We'll go Fernando second place, and then in third. I think Georgie's got to make a comeback from last week. I think with his engine failure, he was doing pretty well. I think he'll do pretty well this week, and so we'll go Max, Alonso, and Russell, the 1, 2, 3.
Okay,
and see where Lewis ends up from there.
I love it. I'm kind of playing it safe with my predictions here. That's a good. I like that.
Yeah, something's gonna happen. You know.
Well, and that's something we've talked about already this season. Is Perez is not going to just hang in the wings. No. He is feeling that he's scrappy, and he's gonna get his elbows out and do some racing. And this is the track to do it as well. There's some places to really kind of force it. Some, I think it's turn, of course, turn 1 is the big braking corner, and then turn 2. Man, if you can get your nose poked in there, it's tight, but if you can squeeze through there, it's a great spot to pass. So I think we're going to see some fun racing this weekend. So and then we'll come back next week sometime, and we'll do a recap and then talk about what's coming. We'll debrief a little bit of what we learned about the changes in this new sprint format. We'll talk through some of that, and hopefully Micah will be able to jump back in with us and add to the conversation with his technical know-how.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Barry. We'll let you get back to sleep, and thank you everybody for joining us again for another episode of the Starting Grid. And we'll get back to you next week. See ya.
Bye-bye.